This is episode 2 of the American Noise podcast, hosted by Andrew Styles. We're within 1 week of the XFL starting. We are within 8 days of the first game of the Dallas Renegades, which is what this second episode will be based on. So, who are the Dallas Renegades? Very simply, the Dallas Renegades are perhaps the crown jewel franchise of the XFL. Like the Yankees in the MLB, the Patriots in the NFL, or some would still say the Cowboys, the Lakers in the NBA, each league has one team that defines the rest of the league. It's what everyone else looks up to, and it seems that the Dallas Renegades, either them or the St. Louis Battlehawks, will be the team to get that job done, even if neither of them are the first champion. St. Louis has the claim that they're the only non-NFL city in the league, and possibly the team and fan base most passionate. The Renegades are able to claim because they are the crown jewel of the league, mainly due to two things. One, they are incredibly favored in all the Vegas sports books, in some cases going for bets at plus 300 or plus 250 to become the inaugural XFL 2020 champion. Their second claim is Bob Stoops, who in many cases are the reasons why they will be so good and so favored. Bob Stoops was the first coach hired by the XFL back on February 7th of 2019, just after the most recent, and soon to be not most recent, but second most recent Super Bowl. They are now playing in a repurposed baseball field. While the Texas Rangers move to Globe Life Field, Globe Life Park will be home of the Renegades and, is it what they call it? I think it's the now North American Soccer League. It's a minor soccer league. It's not nearly as big as MLS, but Globe Life Park will host a team there, and the Renegades will also play their 5 home games and any playoff games they have at home there. The field has been renovated to be much more of a football and soccer-based venue instead of baseball. Left and center field are basically no more, now being entirely covered by a huge row of bleachers. Not to mention several seats down the third base line have been removed as they would have come into the field of play, and now there is a huge wall on that side of the end zone, that side of the field. That's pretty much the opposite of the big right field tennis scoreboard. Think down third base line. Those rows of seats are gone. It is I don't even know how big that wall is. Bigger than the wall it used to be in left field. It's got to be like 20 feet high or something. Not hyperbole. It's really tall. Maybe 25 feet. We'll have to get some estimates when we actually see it in action. But the photos, you know how I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's no Green Monster. But in the old cookie cutter stadiums, there would be like these huge center field fences or something, or these huge football-like fences that just seem towering and just seem to be so far up. That's basically what the Renegade Stadium looks like on one side. It's really oddly shaped, because there's a bunch of room down the first baseline, behind where even the Renegades, or is the Renegades going to stop shop on the side? I think they are, because the bleachers for the visitor. So on the Renegade side, there's going to be a huge open gap during down some of the first baseline, and in center field, there's a bit of an open area there too. I wonder what they could put there in the future. But enough about stadium renovations. What about the team's front office? Well, as with every coach in the league, they are also the general manager, as Stoops helped draft and assign all of the players in the depth charts, which we'll soon get into. Of course, Bob Stoops is famous for being a national championship head coach, having won a college football championship with the Oklahoma Sooners. On April 23rd, he hired Chris Woods as his defensive coordinator, and May 16th, Hal Mumme became the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Renegades. Other notable people in the front office include Daryl Johnston, the former general manager of the San Antonio Commanders of the Alliance. He is now the director of player personnel for the Renegades. Bob Morris is the analytics and scouting manager. Finally, how about the roster? In what's going to be honestly a pretty short episode, I'm going to get these out as quick as possible. Starting with the quarterbacks. The assigned quarterback before the draft even started is also the quarterback Stoops will likely be rolling with to start the season, in Landry Jones. There is a minor problem. He's hurt. In mid-December, he got an injury that said that he would be out for 4 to 6 weeks. There are thoughts that he will return in time for week 1 or at least week 2. He could be out to the time of week 3. In such case, it is likely that Philip Nelson will get the starting role. Third string and second string, while Landry Jones is out, is Eric Dungy. Of course, Landry Jones worked with Bob Stoops, having recently played at Oklahoma Sooners before playing a few starts when Roethlisberger was ever hurt or resting for the playoffs for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Philip Nelson is from East Carolina. Eric Dungy is from the Syracuse Orange. The running back situation will be led by Cameron Artis-Payne from Auburn. A couple of local Texas talent will fill out the main backup roles. Lance Dunbar from UNT, University of North Texas, and Austin Walter from Rice. Meanwhile, in the wide receiver corps, they are led by Jeff Badette. He is another Oklahoma Sooner. So again, Stoops very much likes former Sooner players to be on his team. Makes sense. He's worked there for nearly 2 decades. He's met pretty much all the players who have come through that system recently. Other notable wide receivers that will be backing up are Jeff Ferguson from Northwestern State, Flynn Nagel from just Northwestern, not the state, and Jared Hurd from Texas. Another notable is Josh Crockett from Central Oklahoma. Param Donald will lead the units at tight end. He's also followed by Sean Price, and Julian Allen. And finally, on the last part of the offensive side of the field, the trenches. Alex Balducci will be the only main center on the team to start the campaign, which means he's the only position on both offense or defense, except for special teams, that has no backup. If he gets hurt in the middle of the game, they're in trouble. You can expect one of the first moves the Renegades will make for Team 9 is probably to get a backup at center. Alex Balducci once was from Oregon. The other starters on the offensive line will look like Willie Beavers and Marquise Shakir. I actually can't believe I pronounced that correctly. Who will be protecting the quarterback's blind side at left tackle and left guard, respectively. Shakir from Middle Tennessee and Beavers from Western Michigan. On the right side of the line, Salisi Uftafe is likely to start along with Pace Murphy. Meanwhile, on the defensive side, headlined under the defensive coordinator output of Chris Woods. I keep having to switch back through tabs to look at all this stuff. The main defensive linemen seem to be what do we got here? Alexander Frank is likely to be the left defensive end. The two main tackles are likely to be Glenn Robertson and Tony Gerard, and the right defensive end would probably be Craig Winston starting off. In the linebacking core, the situation is very stacked. In some cases, the depth chart has up to 4 players, particularly at outside linebacker. The main people you can expect to start in what will likely be a 3 or 4 line-out set would be Haruli Kiaka, Richard Kleitz, and Atasani Brown. Any other future players that could also be in the line are Toby Okeke, Ray Devison, and Greer Martini. And finally, the last line of defense, the secondary, led by Josh Thornton, Deshaun Phillips, Dorian Jabba, and most importantly of all perhaps, Deron Smith. The only main of these players on the defensive side that has any sort of connection to Oklahoma previously and graduated from there is Frank Alexander, all the way back at left defensive end. Finally, in special teams, Austin McGinnis is likely to start kicking for the Dallas Renegades from Kentucky. Drew Gouts from Baylor will punt, and Christian Kuntz will hold over the long snapping duties. So, that's the main part of the Dallas Renegades depth chart. Now for the odds. It seems that the odds are, in a reference to the Hunger Game, highly in the Renegades' favor. And the 3 main betting sites we'll take a look at. The first is Barstool Bets. The Dallas Renegades are at plus 300, just barely over the New York Guardians at plus 320 to win the XFL Championship. They are again plus 300, but with a $100 advantage over the Guardians when it comes to OddsShark. And then finally, on DraftKings, they're up to plus 250 at some points. Others do still have them at plus 300, and in some cases the Vipers instead of the Guardians or even the Wildcats have been held over as the main championship winner. However, they do not have the highest under-over win total. One of the more controversial things in the past week has been the fact that the Vipers, under the influence of Antonio Callaway, who is now ironically hurt, were given an 8.5 win ratio for over-under, and the Renegades were only given 7. So that's a bit over that. Others have the Renegades down for 6. And then finally, on BetMGM, the Renegades are truly up to 250 plus, the best ratio in the entire league. It seems that when looking at the alliance, the best team was the most best coach, as crappy as that grammar is. Steve Spurrier, of course, a legendary head coach, captained the Orlando Apollos to the best record and de facto Alliance championship. And it seems many people think that Bob Stoops will lead Dallas to the same thing and give Dallas its first pro championship in nearly a decade and its second in 2 decades. The only team that's won a Dallas Pro Championship since the turn of the millennium were the Dallas Mavericks. Well, this has been episode 2 of the American Noise Podcast. This was a bit quick. We're going to hammer out these as fast as possible. The rest of the Western Division is soon to come. See you next time.